proximity is power. And every time I've gotten around people playing the game at the next level, I've absorbed the next set of principles. Principles are just a fancy way of saying rules of the game. Let's say I want to get to $150,000 a year level. I need to be hanging out with people making $150,000 a year. I got to get proximity to those people. Once you get around them and get exposure to the way they think, the books they read, the podcasts they listen to, the hobbies that they've done in their life, their workout schedule, their eating habits. Once you start to model that out, it's a formula. So now you have those positive success inputs, creates the success habits, gets the confidence going. Slowly you start building up, taking action, and boom, next thing you know, you're starting to get results.
Cody, thanks again for joining me for our Thought Leader Spotlight series. Again, I'm your host, Matt Camp, head of partnerships for DealMachine. On these, we really like to shine a spotlight on industry experts, on these thought leaders, to hear their inspiring stories and to really have them educate our community on lessons they've learned and how they see the world evolving. So today we have Cody Sperber, truly an OG within the real estate investing world, CEO and founder of Clever Investor, a real estate investment mentor. He runs an education company. He's flipped thousands of deals, and really has kind of created his own proprietary investing strategy, the reverse short sale, in the past. He's a Navy veteran. He's extremely active as an investor currently, and a speaker, author, philanthropist as well. This actually extends to his social media as well, where he's got over 1.2 million followers on Instagram. So he really likes to give and give to his community. And he's also married to his best friend and has two beautiful children, Hudson and Brinley. So thanks again, Cody. Welcome on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You forgot sexy. Sexy investor.
Got to highlight that one. Okay, there we go. Sexiest we know.
Yeah, I'm glad. Great to be here. Let's talk real estate. Let's talk.
Yeah, perfect. And today, I'm going to ask you about kind of market trends you see coming, strategies you recommend to investors, advice for entrepreneurs, things like that. To really start, so outside of your bio, can you tell us a little bit more about your life and the pivotal moments that really got you to where you are today?
Pivotal moment. I've been real estate investing for 16 and a half years. So, I've had a ton of pivotal moments. I call them pivotal moments and recalibrations, right? Because really every entrepreneur has dozens, if not hundreds of those moments where you look back and you're like, I can't believe I went through that. That's crazy. Like they either put you off on a new path or, you deal with just some real big challenges and you become stronger because you work through them. And biggest ones that most people can probably relate to is when I was in the Navy, my dad sent me a book that changed my life. And it was the first time I ever heard of assets and liabilities. And that was the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. And it was right when it came out. And my dad sent it to me and I didn't read it. I threw it in my rack and I got bored. About a month or two later, we were doing 5-knot circles in the middle of the Persian Gulf. And I got bored one day and I picked it up and I couldn't put it down. I read the whole book in one reading. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, I cannot believe nobody ever taught me what an asset and a liability is. And so it planted that seed that real estate is where all the wealth is. And, you kind of always know it, but I used to have all these preconceived notions that you needed to be rich to do real estate. Like, I didn't know you could do real estate to get rich. I thought you had to be rich to do real estate. And that was a major milestone. But I didn't do anything with that. I actually wanted to be a 9th grade history teacher. So my goal after the Navy was to go and become a teacher. And when I got out, I went to San Diego State University and I talked to the history professors there. And I was talking to 2 of them and I said, hey, if you guys don't mind me asking, like financially, like how much money do you guys make? Do you do well? And one of them busted out laughing and was like, yeah, right. I have a second job. And that was another moment where I was like, ooh, that's not the kind of life I want. I don't want 2 jobs. Like I love to teach, or I think I love to teach. Like that would be awesome, but I don't know if that's for me. And so I went back to my only counselor that I ever took advice from, AKA my dad. And I said, Dad, they don't make any money. I don't know if I should do that with my life. And he's like, just go to school and get a degree in finance and emphasize in accounting. And if you do that, you could kind of be in any business because you'll understand the language of business. And I said, Dad, I am the worst student. I get C's and D's in my classes. Like I can't add up without a calculator. And I'm horrible at math. And he said, just trust me. So when I went to college, I was going there, taking classes, and that's when pretty much another pivotal moment happened where a good friend, Jeremy, showed up. He invited me to go to lunch, and he showed up with a brand new Mercedes. And I said, dude, how did you get the car? And he said, I flipped a house and made 80 grand. And I said, bull crap. I don't believe it. That has to be a scam, or you got lucky, or that's not possible, And he said, no, seriously, it's this process called wholesaling. And he penciled it out on a napkin. And I took that napkin with me, and that lunch changed my life because that set me down the path. I connected the dots back to Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I said, oh my gosh, real estate, maybe that's what I could do. And back then, no YouTube University, no podcast, no awesome video series like this, none of that. So I had to get in a plane and fly all over the country to go to these guru events. And I just got hooked. I got hooked on the concept of getting wealthy in real estate. And fast forward the story, first 9 months, never did a deal, sucked big time at trying to pull it all together, put myself into $30,000 of credit card debt, quit the business, got back in the business a few months later, found my first mentor, and then finally got my first deal. And that first deal was another pivotal moment in my life where all that hope, 11 months of trying, struggle, ups, downs, fighting with my girlfriend over money, almost getting kicked out, getting my lights turned off at our apartment, getting kicked out of the apartment, living with my girlfriend in her kitchen, trying to get my business out. Like all that struggle finally gelled. And I went from hope to knowing I could do it over and over again. So that first deal, and one deal does change everything. That first deal changed everything for me. And I've been a full-time real estate investor ever since that big deal. I made $40,000 and invested for 6 years. Did wholesaling to start because I didn't have a lot of money. So I had to get creative and did a lot of wholesaling. Did a few hundred deals. Then the foreclosure meltdown happened. And when that happened, things really lit up in Arizona. Got into foreclosure investing, got buying down at the auctions, started rehabbing, and that my business scaled. Because of the Navy, I was good at systems, right? You see, Matt, in the Navy, making your bed has a system. Shining your shoes, there's a system. There's a system for every single thing you do. It's documented, it's modeled out, whether I'm doing it or somebody else, it's always the same. The result, it's like McDonald's, right? Like a franchise, it's always the same product. And I applied that love of systems that I got in the Navy to my real estate business. So I was able to scale when the opportunity finally presented itself. And now done thousands of deals, looking back 16 years later, thousands of deals, own multifamily, own single family, got a big rental portfolio, do a lot of creative deal structuring, creative financing, still wholesale about a house a day. I have 17 development projects going on right now, active in about 6 different states, mainly in Arizona, but I got some in other states. And in 2010, I started teaching people how to do it, scratched that teaching itch because I fell in love with real estate and I love to teach. So it just made sense for me to start Clever Investor. Didn't think much of it. It was supposed to be a little side hustle. And then for a year, it was just this little education business with mainly local people and a couple people that found me on the internet. And then I got pretty good at internet marketing and bringing in customers. And all of a sudden the business took off. It scaled. Now I'm one of the largest online education brands in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say your love for education clearly found its way into your real estate career. So it makes a lot of sense. And then also the Rich Dad Poor Dad too. I mean, a ton of people listening to this right now have that in common with you as well. That first inspiration for getting into their first deal. So
how epic would it be to write a book like that to this day is still a bestseller, still changing lives.
Still that relevant. Yeah.
Oh man, wouldn't that be the greatest feeling? I mean, no offense to Kiyosaki. He's a little kooky now, but oh man, has he changed a lot of lives.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. It's definitely an inspiration for our community. So
that's the legacy I want to leave. I want to change lives like that.
Yeah. Do you think, I know not to shift gears too hard, but last time we spoke, you talked about giving advice to people about kind of our current market conditions and, where the economy's headed. And you talked about it was fragile and we've been kicking the can down the road, but then also that 2021 looks like we should have a very strong market. Can you maybe tell us a little bit more about why you think that, and really kind of your opinion on the outlook for 2021?
Yeah. The only thing that causes prices to go down is oversupply, right? That's what causes prices to go down when there's so much supply and very little demand. What do we have right now? We have the reverse, very little supply and very aggressive demand. And that imbalance of supply and demand is making prices or keeping prices very strong. And the challenge with the predicament we're in is there's a couple of unknowns that are preventing builders for thinking long and doing long plays. Right now, everybody's kind of on the same page with, we were already at the top of a market cycle. If Rona would have never hit, we probably would be starting to get into oversupply or starting to transition within the next 2 years. But then Rona hits and it throws everything into like this crazy imbalance. They made the cost of capital go to zero. Whenever that happens, right? Money's cheap. So builders are in this weird predicament. Like, do I buy that land at a high and bet that for 3 years from now, by the time I finally build the subdivision, that the market's still going to be strong? Do I know what Biden's going to do? What if there's another $1 trillion capital injection? What does that do? How is that going to affect things? So for 2021, we're good, right? I really believe we're good, at least in single family. And it's going to be very strong demand. We're going to have a good enough, strong enough economy because there will be more bailouts, and they're going to continue to push foreclosure evictions and all that stuff down the road a little bit until we figure out the coronavirus thing. So I think 2021, we're fine. And if you're in the multifamily game, if you understand, multifamily is actually a hedge against inflation. It's good to own multifamily in a declining economy, right? And so I think people buying multifamily or holding multifamily, they're going to do just fine. The things that are weird and some unknowns, like will Biden get rid of the 1031 exchange? If he does, multifamily is going to be okay because less people will want or be incentivized to sell. So therefore, there'll be less multifamily hitting the market, imbalancing supply and demand. You get what I'm saying? So, but office is going to, I think, get destroyed because of a choice like that. Now, whether that happens or not, I don't know. And I'm not an office investor, so I don't know if there'll be opportunities in the future for more plays in retail and office space. But as of right now, I know I'm very bullish on the economy and the real estate market for 2021. And I'm buying as much real estate as I can, whether that's rental real estate, whether that's for rehabs or, locking up as many wholesale deals. I think it's going to be a great year to be a creative real estate investor.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think the key is on creative, like you said. I mean, I know there's, changes down the road coming to the market, and that uncertainty can maybe be a little intimidating for especially new investors. But you talking about like there being a lot of creative finance options. I know last time you mentioned a lot of those really open up with kind of the market conditions we're dealing with. So, and really like your reputation, like, the clever investor, I think you think through creative finance in a very, unique way. So based on these coming market trends, how have you kind of changed that direction? Like what strategy shift are you making for this year? How are you thinking more creatively like that?
Well, when I first got into the business and working with my mentor, he used to call it transactional engineering. He used to say, Cody, you got to think of lead generation and working deals with sellers like a transactional engineer. And no lead should be left behind. There's a deal in every single lead that you generate. It might not be the deal you want to do, but there is a deal there. Whether it's all cash offer, retail, partnership, you can do creative seller participation deals, which is, I think, what you're talking about. And whenever there's a situation where there's trillions of dollars of equity trapped in the real estate market, there's always room for creative financing structures. Right now, the number one hardest person to finance in the world of getting a conventional mortgage is every person listening to this. It's you, it's me, it's entrepreneurs. If you are an entrepreneur, and me, I own tons of businesses. I have to have 2 years audited financials for every freaking company I own. the amount of disclosures and documents. If I go to a bank to get a loan right now, it sucks. People hate it. So bypass the banks and instead get the seller to participate in financing the deal for you. And there's a lot of homeowners that are and investors that own free and clear real estate right there. Tremendous amount of seller carryback opportunities. There's a lot of people that have a tremendous amount of equity trapped in their properties, but they have a mortgage in place. That's already great financing. It's already there. Well, we can show up, and anytime you show up to a seller appointment, you can negotiate on one of two things, price or terms. And everybody wants to negotiate price. I'll pay you what you want. If it's in a price range that's low enough and the rental rates are strong, I'll give you the price you want if you give me the terms. Let me step in and take over your mortgage. Let's wrap your equity and create a wraparound mortgage. Let me just make you payments until paid, and then I'll turn around and I'll deal with the rental, or I'll turn it into a lease option, or I'll reseller finance it to somebody else, sandwich myself in the middle, and just create, now I'm the bank. You know who the happiest person in the world is? The bank, right? You know who doesn't give a crap about the tenants, the toilets, or your problems? The bank. The bank, they don't care, right? They're in the greatest position of them all. You want to get amazing returns, be the bank, and you can do seller participation on the front end, and you can be the seller that participates on the back end as well, sandwiching yourself in the middle. So creative deal wraparound mortgages subject to seller carrybacks, all-inclusive contract for deeds. If you don't know those strategies and you don't know how to master that paperwork, I would be focusing all of my time and attention for the next 45 to 60 days on figuring that out. Crack the code on that and slowly start making that offer when you meet with these sellers. Don't just be the newbie investor that shows up and says, hey, your house is worth 150, I'll give you 75. You want to take the deal? And they say, no. Well, you just buttered them up for me because I'm going to show up right behind you and I'm going to give them more of what they want, but I'm going to get them to give me the house for free, basics.
Right. Yeah.
And when you have more tools in your tool belt in 2021, that's who's going to win the most deals and build the most wealth.
A lot of the people listening to this too, they're considering wholesaling. They're looking at a variety of different options and strategies to be able to fund deals like that. When people are, doing this seller financing or seller participation pitch like that, where do new real estate investors get that wrong? Like, where do they trip up typically when they're trying to do that?
Let me make sure I understand the question. How do they get seller financing wrong, or pitching seller financing to the seller?
Ooh, good. I would love to hear both. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think if you don't understand the paperwork and don't understand how to overcome the objections, and when I was new and I didn't understand it, all I would say in the beginning was, what if there was a way for me to pay you closer to what you wanted, but you worked with me and you participated in helping me pay you what you want? Okay. And I'll give you the 150K, but you might have to wait a little while for me to give it to you. Are you willing to explore different options? What I can do is step back. I got to go talk to my mentor and get my thoughts clear based on your situation and give you 3 different options and allow you to pick which one feels best for you. And that would buy me enough time to step back and go, okay, option 1 is, all cash offer. Option 2 is very little money out of my pocket, creative terms offer. And option 3 was a little bit more money out of my pocket, but even better terms, right? So like, as I put more money out, the terms would get better in my favor. As I put less money out, the terms would get better in the seller's favor. So then they can kind of just look at them and go, you know what, I like option 3. And you could do that in a letter of intent. It doesn't even have to be like a whole written out thing. It could just be a LOI where it's like, hey, I talked with my mentor, I put some things together. Which one makes best situation for you? So that's on the presenting. But I think I think just simply most investors don't know how to offer those tools or those solutions. And step 1, obviously, always is getting educated. Step 2 is mastering your paperwork, because that's really all it is. It's a paperwork play. And so for me, I just think that every deal takes on a life of its own and it's unique. I don't have a one size fits all approach when I show up to talk with the seller. I hear what they're looking for, or I hear their situation. I understand what they're looking to accomplish. And I look at the market and I look at the cash flow. I have certain rules of thumb that I adhere to. Everybody has to have an investing strategy that they're showing up with. For instance, I won't do a deal without a minimum of $400 a month in pure cash flow. I won't even touch it. I would never take over somebody's mortgage where I'm only making $100 a month, because then I'm speculating. I'm hoping for future appreciation. You know, I don't like to speculate. I like to invest. And so, you know, you gotta know how to use a mortgage calculator. Right.
Yeah.
So, certain core skills and capabilities just need to be dealt with. But then now I would, like when my students come to me, I have a course called the Free House Formula. In there, it has done for you explainer videos that are literal cartoons that you give the seller. So if the seller's situation is they own it free and clear, you give them this cartoon. If they have a mortgage with no equity, you give them that cartoon. If they have a mortgage with equity, you give them a different cartoon. It's about 3 minutes in length, and it explains their situation to them in layman's terms and an example deal that we can put together by getting creative. By the time they're done watching the little cartoon, the seller's like, oh, I get it. And now the conversation's open, and I have acquisition reps that when they get to that point, they just fire over the cartoon in an email. Call me when you're done watching this.
Which course is that, you said?
It's called the Free House Formula.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. I mean, you put out phenomenal content on there through your courses, your book. I love what you're doing on Instagram. Like, I think your Instagram, like you said, was it's more motivational and kind of focused on entrepreneurs, it seems like, and give them, helps give them a better mindset, more positive energy for 2021, that kind of stuff. One recent post you had on there was, basically giving me advice to be more aggressive and, swing for the fences. If you were starting over today and really kind of maybe just getting your feet under you with your real estate business, looking at scaling, which a lot of the people listening to this are, how would you swing for the fences right now? Like, when you say swing for the fences, can you give me maybe an example of what people can take action on to think like that?
What I meant by that post is it takes just as much time and energy to do a small deal as it does a big deal. And the reason people do small deals is because of fear. We say to, and I did this is how I know. I said to myself, I want to own a 50 unit apartment complex, but I better start with this $50,000 wholesale deal because it feels safer. It doesn't feel as overwhelming. It feels like I can't get as hurt or it's not as complicated. But the reality is I'm going to work just as hard, if not harder, on that $50,000 deal as I would on the 50 unit apartment complex. And once I understood that mindset shift, I realized I'm going to spend my next, when I started investing, I was pretty young. I'm now 42. I only had so many good years of like all out, full intense, activity to build generational wealth. I don't want to do this till I'm 75, right? My mentor was a G. He was in his 70s still doing real estate. I don't want to do any real estate in my 70s. I don't even want to talk to you, Matt, in my 70s. Sorry, I love you, brother. But like, I want to build so much freaking wealth that I can pick and choose whatever I want to do. And it ain't going to be doing real estate,
Fair. We can talk about other stuff. That's fine.
Yeah, we can hang. You can come to my my private islands.
There we go.
But yeah, it's just important for you to start thinking now bigger. You're more capable than you know. And you're one relationship away from pulling off that 50 unit deal. And that's what if I was to go back and do it all over again, step one, get proximity to the baddest mofo in your area that's doing big things, that's making big boy money that you respect in the game, and go, what problems do you have? What can I solve in your world? What problems, what challenges, what things? I would study them. And I would say, let's say I wanted to get around Gary Vee. I like Gary Vee. I want to do business with Gary Vee. I need to get proximity to Gary Vee. I know Gary Vee loves the Jets. I'm going to go onto Etsy and I'm going to get somebody to make a miniature replica of the Jets stadium with Gary Vee standing in there. and I'm going to send it as a gift, right? And I'm going to do creative things to get Gary Vee's attention, right? I'm going to show up. I'm going to get a tent. I'm going to park out in his lobby. I'm going to stay there for 2 weeks with a sign that says, I love Gary Vee. I need 15 minutes of your time, and I'm going to get a dang appointment with Gary Vee. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get it. And then I'm going to pitch him and I'm going to say, what's your biggest problem? Give me your number one biggest challenge. Let me go solve it. And I'm going to earn proximity to him. That's an example of how I would be approaching my real estate business, because I want to do bigger, better deals and go bigger, faster, and not allow fear to hold me back. So hopefully that at least motivates somebody who's kind of on the fence and they're newer and they're like, I don't have any money. I don't have any resources. I don't know really what I'm doing. I'm going to focus on just wholesaling. That's one way of attacking it. If I could do it all over again, I wouldn't just do wholesaling. I might do a few wholesale deals to learn the language and get some money, but I would already be thinking, how fast can I build this big portfolio so that way I become untouchable?
Yeah. I mean, I think you kind of touched on there. Another question I had on, recent stuff you've been putting out through Instagram as well about your friend group and how, they can really affect your ambition, your direction, and really influence your thoughts. You've kind of touched on a couple of times about your mentor, how you've gotten around successful people that way. Do you have any other tips on finding those positive influences in your life, or maybe, any examples of how they've really kind of set your direction and leveled up your thinking?
Proximity is power. And every time I've gotten around people playing the game at the next level, I've absorbed the next set of principles. And principles are just a fancy way of saying rules of the game. And let's say I'm at $50,000 a year level and I want to get to $150,000 a year level. I need to be hanging out with people making $150,000 a year. I got to get proximity to those people. Maybe that's through networking groups. Maybe that's through a mastermind. Maybe that's through hiring a coach or a mentor. Maybe that's by going and hanging out at the nicer neighborhoods and, trying to figure out what they did to earn those houses. But once you get around them and get exposure to the way they think, the books they read, the podcasts they listen to, the hobbies that they've done in their life, their workout schedule, their eating habits, their work schedule, what time of day do they wake up? What are their morning routines? What are their evening? Once you start to model that out and you get exposure, what's going to happen is you've been comfortable at the 50K level for so long, you're already the man or woman at that level, but now all of a sudden you're going to get that feeling of being a child again. And when you get that feeling of uncertainty, you're starting to level up. That's a great place to be, because you want to make the mistakes. You want to step backwards. You want to feel like you're going the wrong direction a little bit. Because what happens is you actually take a few steps back and then boom, you catapult forward. And you start to do money-making activities. And next thing that are going to get you those results. And you're going to end up at the 150K level pretty soon, just by the inputs, and because it's inputs, outputs, right? It's a formula. So now you have those positive success inputs, creates the success habits, gets the confidence going. Slowly you start building up, taking action, then boom, next thing you know, you're starting to get results. And then you're going to look up and go, well, what's the 500K level look and feel like? What's the $1,000,000K level? And I keep doing that. And somebody asked me yesterday on Clubhouse, which, by the way, if you're not on Clubhouse, get on Clubhouse. For real estate investors, it's insanity. I'm murdering it on Clubhouse. I'm getting so many leads. I've raised millions of dollars already, tons of new students, tons of real estate deals.
Especially right now. Yeah.
Killing it. Love Clubhouse. So somebody asked me on Clubhouse, rate yourself between 1 to 10 where you're at in your life right now. 10, you're a boss, you're a beast, you're murdering it, you're the best at what you do. 1, you suck. And we were going down the line. A couple of people, I'm a 10, I'm the man. Somebody, a lot of people were at 8s and 9s and 9.5s and all that stuff. And they got to me and they said, what are you? And I said, honestly, right now in my life, I'm a 4. And everybody was like, what? There's zero possibility you're a 4. You're like one of the best investors in the world. I said, you guys don't understand. In the circle that I'm running with now, these guys are 9-figure earners. I am the weakest of all of them. And I love it. That feeling I get of nervousness and I don't really want to talk and I just want to sit back and listen and absorb and master those principles, master those rules. That's where I'm at right now in my life. And I like it because I've never gone to 9 figures. I've done 8. No problem. I'm killing it at 8. I want to get to 9. How do you scale to $100+ million a year? You shut up, you put yourself in proximity to those people, and you study greatness. And guess what? The connections, the relationships are starting to catapult me forward. Ask me in a year how you rate yourself. Maybe I am a 10. I don't know, but I'm not there yet. So always room for improvement. And how you get that is getting around the right people.
It's exciting. I love your perspective on really how you think about life, Cody. So this is great, man. I really, really appreciate your time. In terms of parting words, I'd love for you to tell people how to get in touch with you, how to interact with your mentorship, your education, all of that. But one last question, just because we touched on it earlier, what would you like your legacy to be? I know that's a big, reflective question, but what would you like your legacy to be, 50 years in the future?
Yeah, I think it's still unfolding, but maybe if I had to make a call right now, I would want my family to have generational wealth. I'd want to build a financial wall. I am building a financial wall around them so they are protected. I want to raise non-entitled, spoiled little brats that turn out to be amazing human beings, and I'm working really hard on that. So my family, obviously, is my legacy. On the business side of things, I want to be known as a connector, somebody that really helped a lot of people level up their lives. I want to be known as somebody that was fun and engaging. I want to put out engaging content that will live on to inspire more people to get in the business. Just like I said at the beginning of this, I'd love to write a best-selling book someday. And I'm actually working on it. I own the domain selfmademillionaire.com, and I've been sitting on it because now I'm starting to write a little bit just to see if I can't create my own rich dad, poor dad moment. Mm-hmm. I want to be known as a great friend. I'm really working hard on my friendship. Nobody cares about how much money you make. As a joke, I told everybody, when I die, I want you guys all to come to my funeral, and I want it to be a huge party. And right in the middle of it, I want to be dropped from the ceiling like a freaking mariachi pinata thing.
Yeah.
Stuffed Cody Sperber, and just have me break dancing in the middle of the party with everybody, and the whole thing's just going nuts, and everybody just loses their mind because Stuffed Cody is dance battling everybody. And then at the end of the party, just prop me up next to the DJ booth and leave me there for the cleaning crew to find me. I think it'd be just hilarious. We'd make the news.
That's for sure. Yeah.
But legacy is a tough one because, I don't think that you set off to create a legacy. I think you just create a legacy. Mm-hmm. It's a tough one. I almost want to ask you, I know this is short, but
yeah,
how do you envision your life, unfolding?
I'm with you too. Like where I get most joy is when I'm helping others. It's something where I really love being a connector, providing value like that, where I love to see where I introduce this person and this person, and then I get back in touch with them in a year, and they went off and started a business together and did this together and that. And I just enjoy, kind of trying to be a connector and a giver in a community like that. It just gives me a lot of self-joy.
Well, you're part of their story now.
So yeah,
that's cool.
And I have 3 little kids of my own as well. So trying to accomplish the same things of setting a great example and trying to create amazing human beings out of them too. So.
That's right. Go big, right? Maybe that is my legacy. Helping people go big.
Hey, you're working on it. And the scale that you do it at by putting out great content, by educating people like this, hopefully there's at least a few people watching this that get really inspired and achieve great things. And hopefully this was
most of the gurus, whether I don't know if this is good or bad. Maybe my legacy is I produce more freaking gurus in the real estate space than anybody else in the space.
Hey. It's a compliment to you, though. I mean, they want to follow your footsteps. So
yeah. Well, hopefully they keep fresh energy coming into the education world.
Yeah. Speaking of that, how can people get in touch with you, with your community, with your education?
Yeah, obviously, cleverinvestor.com is our website, and I'm at Clever Investor on all social media platforms. Like I said, I've been really nerding out on Clubhouse, so come find me on there once you can get in and they open that up. Right now, you need to have an iPhone to use it, so hopefully in the future they can get that on Android. And I got a pretty strong YouTube following and YouTube channel. I am going to start posting a lot more videos on my YouTube channel again.
Awesome.
And a lot of people love the content over there. And yeah, just cleverinvestor.com. Go there, check it out. We got our mentorship, we got our products, and a lot of stuff's cheap or free. So don't think that you got to spend a bunch of money to hang out with big Spurbs. You know, got a great, very strong community. We like to have fun. We like to party. And I have a Clever Summit coming up in March. And if you go to cleversummit.com, I think we'll have some information up there about our virtual events.
Perfect. Well, Big Spurbs, thanks again. You're you're truly one of those leading, thought leader types, that educator in the real estate investing world. So really appreciate your time. Again, this is Matt Camp with DealMachine. I'll see you at our next conversation. For a Thought Leader Spotlight series. Thanks.
Thanks for having me. See you guys.